This video is a film study look at Devon Witherspoon, who I would call a throwback football player, a throwback athlete, in fact. If you're going to pay money to go watch a professional sporting event, Witherspoon has the right mentality. He plays like his hair is on fire. There's just tremendous effort and aggression, a great motor every single second that he's on the field. I love his combative demeanor. He redirects wide receivers, and I'm going to focus on that once we get about halfway through the video. And it's rare in the modern NFL, and what I mean in zone, not press man necessarily, but in zone, he forces receivers, tight ends to kind of bow their route out more than prescribed, or perhaps veer off to the inside. He's got extremely unique versatility. I just finished a Marlon Humphrey film study for the Ravens fans, and those are two of the DBs that I view as incredibly rare, meaning they can play outside corner on one snap and then move to nickel on the next one. Or during the course of a season, if a guy is hurt or a player is injured on a particular possession, the very next time that the defense goes out on the field, Witherspoon, Humphrey, those are guys who can move from outside to inside or vice versa. And they're equally good at completing tasks no matter where they line up in terms of execution and bringing the fire against the run. Now, to me, Humphrey's a little bit better against the run than Witherspoon, but Witherspoon, first of all, is only 24 years old. He's just finished his second season in the NFL, two Pro Bowl designations. Marlon Humphrey's got two first-team All-Pro designations and four Pro Bowls, so difference in terms of a level of experience, but I love watching film of Witherspoon. He's one of those guys that I think I could watch film of pretty much all day long. This first video that I'm going to do on Witherspoon, at least here in the offseason as we head into or lead up to training camp, is look at film of him against the Rams in 2023. I have two other games cut up, actually three, I should say, two from 2023, two from last season of Witherspoon primarily, to just be able to chronicle his career, because I think he's on the type of guy that's a perennial Pro Bowl / All Pro player. Only has one interception though thus far. This is first possession of the game against the Rams. I think week 11, 2023, and he's off the edge on a blitz. And then I like how he just redirects. He plays with such force that when he encounters guys like a tight end here, or sometimes an offensive lineman, he's able to bounce off of those guys and still play a role in defending that particular play. This, like I said, this is film from his rookie season, and it's just one of the things you notice about Witherspoon is that he shows up in a more sudden manner than blockers often expect. I actually do have one play in this video where he kind of can't get off a block because he's only 5'11", 6 foot, something like that, 185, 188 pounds. He's got superstar effort, if you ask me. And once again, one of those guys that if you're going to pay money or take your kids to watch a professional sporting event, Devon Witherspoon understands the situation. He's going to give you your money's worth. 3rd and 13 on the same possession. And I think this is Reek Woolen coming downhill. It's a zone. You can see the line to gain is right here, the 35-yard line. Ball is completed underneath to the running back late. And so Woolen's going to come downhill here, and then Witherspoon at an angle is actually the guy who makes the tackle in there after Reek Woolen forces him to the inside. He's got great effort. I wonder if on this particular play, and sometimes he kind of over pursues things, meaning he kind of veered off too far to the inside because he sees this route developing. In that rookie season, there were some times where I felt like him and Bobby Wagner weren't really on the same page. One of them would overlap the other one. Kind of get a sense of that here. But Witherspoon's got the burst and the just raw power to be able, in his steps, in his pursuit, I should say, to be able to get to the football and kind of make up for it. I think we're into the 3rd possession here. Rams have got down near the red zone. Just a really nice example of how he zones off and he disrupts routes while doing so. So the number 1 and 2 receivers are up there kind of stacked a little bit. And again, Witherspoon's really good at getting hands on. In this case, he's stepping out to the number 1. So a little bit unexpected. Now he's lined up almost in between the two of them. You can see you could almost draw a triangle between their feet, and Witherspoon would be kind of at the apex of that. Redirects 1, which is Tutu Atwell, and then Nakua kind of bringing this, China in, whip route, whatever you want to call it. Now, Stafford's not looking to that side, right? But we're focusing on what Witherspoon can do, and he disrupts routes. You kind of have the same opportunity down here at the bottom side of the screen, right? An opportunity to redirect a wide receiver. I believe that's Julian Love. He just doesn't take advantage of it in the same way in terms of getting hands on. Marlon Humphrey is the other guy in the NFL that I see as consistently being willing to kind of get hands on receiver and at least disrupt their route to get them off their mark, off their track, such that the timing is disrupted somewhat. Some of that, I'm sure, is how they're coached, but some of it, I think, is just excellent instincts on the part of Witherspoon and Marlon Humphrey. Just great at redirecting routes, if ever so slightly. And so, comparing it to what other guys do at times, they'll just kind of let receivers run past them. He's really good. He being Witherspoon is really good at landing some contact, remaining balanced in the area that he's supposed to cover. It basically provides him a two-way go while still making contact with a receiver who's moving through his zone. Witherspoon's got the athletic ability and the balance to get back to his spot. Sometimes kind of hedged a little bit too far in towards the middle of the field, but he's got the right combination, if you ask me, of mentality and athleticism and mean streak to play defensive back in the modern NFL. And what I mean when I say that is, a game that's designed to influence or encourage the offense to score and consistently every year sets up rules to put the defense at a disadvantage. Humphrey and Witherspoon are guys that continue to play and kind of push boundaries, if you will, in terms of making contact with receivers at or near the line of scrimmage. You've got a seam route by number 2, which is Nakua. Witherspoon getting slight hands on, and then the tight end from the other side running underneath. This is kind of an example of what I'm talking about. Again, this is 2023 film, so different defense there. You got somewhat of a lack of integration between the two inside linebackers and then Witherspoon in terms of how they're playing this. But I love Witherspoon's instincts. He just seems to have a great understanding at the nickel position of being able to pass off routes to the third level and then look to take over a drag emanating from the other side of the field. Yeah, there is a tight end, wide open in the middle of the field. Stafford, for whatever reason, doesn't feel like he can get him the football, so it doesn't end up hurting them here. I'm not focusing on necessarily plays where Witherspoon was only targeted. What I've been doing in the offseason for multiple teams, not just the Ravens, Lions, and Seahawks, is kind of going through film of games, the entire all 22 film, and just looking for 16 or 18 or 20 plays from a given player or even a given team or defense to try to understand the level of talent that's out there. And for me, based on what I've seen, Witherspoon and Humphrey are the only two guys who can do this on a play-by-play and possession-by-possession basis. Move from outside corner to the nickel, even though here in this film I'm showing you he's primarily lined up at the slot corner position. Same possession. I think I misspoke a moment ago. I believe this is the third possession. It's a 3rd and 10. And this 2-deep, 4-under coverage with a 5-man rush, really one of my favorite coverages across the NFL. You can see Witherspoon dropping to a too-high safety look. So doesn't just provide versatility in terms of where he lines up, provides versatility in terms of what he can do post-snap. Here's the 4 underneath coverage droppers and the 2 safeties. Witherspoon back deep. My apologies for that. 5-man rush designed to try to get guys, in the quarterback's face, disrupt his progression, get him off his spot. In this case, it works. Julian Love with a boundary side blitz, able to get to the quarterback. Brooks and Wagner are the 2 guys dropping out. Love on the blitz, like I said. Can't finish Stafford off, but it's mission accomplished, if you ask me, for the whole defense because they've disrupted Stafford's ability to read the play. Witherspoon's a part of that, not necessarily that disruption, but a part of providing a different look post-snap than maybe they gave once the offense lined up. I think we're into the 4th possession here, lined up at nickel. I think he gets moved to a little bit too far to the inside. It's a pin-pull concept, if you ask me. So 2 receivers down here to the bottom side are going to pin down, block to the inside, crack, if you will. Some people call it by the number 1 receiver. And then the left tackle pulling to the outside to lead for the running back. I call it a pitch because of Stafford's opening. He's opening to the side where the running back flows, not away from it. So a toss play would be if he's turning this way, clockwise. So his chest would be facing away from the point of attack. A little bit of a technical term there. My apologies for that if you don't like it. When you get the end zone angle, you'll see what I mean. I think Witherspoon just is sucked inside a little bit too far here. And he does this often. Multiple nickel or slot corners do this pre-snap as well to try to threaten the blitz, give the offense something to think about. In this case, I think he ends up lined up to the inside of, I think that's Clark, but I could be wrong. Like I said, we're talking about over a full season ago. It really kind of wouldn't matter, though, because the number one receiver, Atwell, is designed to crack him or pin down on Witherspoon. So, regardless of whether his feet are here or here, he's probably still going to end up pinned to the inside. The point is that you would want a little bit more expansion as the force player to provide some resistance for that receiver, which Witherspoon, really did not. You may be asking, well, coach, why would you show a negative play in a video where you're trying to be complimentary of a player? Well, I don't have to try too hard to be complimentary of Witherspoon, first of all. Second of all, I think it's to illustrate that it's a high standard if you want to move from playing nickel to outside corner on a snap by snap basis or even week to week. And Witherspoon brings that ability, which is what I think makes him very rare. And great range, ability to move and get to a spot. Like I said, I think he's got tremendous feet. Um, a brilliant football player, still only 24 years old. 4 years old. I think it's kind of amazing that the Seahawks front office drafted Witherspoon and JSN in the same draft. I think Witherspoon was fifth, and JSN was 19th or maybe 20th. I'm not exactly sure. Feel free to correct me in the comment section there. I will say this: I do like that Seattle brought back Shaquille Griffin, who played for Seattle previously. I think he was drafted in like 16 or 17 and then played for Minnesota last year. He had 2 interceptions. I view him as more of an outside corner. I do have some familiarity with the Vikings defense and how well Griffin played in 2024 because I cover so many Lions games and they were able to defeat Minnesota twice. I think Griffin is more of an outside corner, so maybe this slots Witherspoon as a full time nickel. I do think that McDonald's defense is diverse. And what I mean by that is it's a three corner system. I have a working theory that Mike McDonald's structure and even possibly what the Chargers defensive coordinator and defensive staff do is a three corner system. At Ravens as well. And I don't mean three corners as in three corners on the field at the same time. I mean a structured, perhaps scheduled rotation that gives the offense and the offensive staff calling plays against you something to think about in terms of who's on the field, whether it's Woolen and Witherspoon, whether it's Woolen and Griffin with Witherspoon at the nickel, just to give the offensive staff something to think about in terms of the coverages that flow from particular personnel groups that are on the field. It's a compressed formation here by the Rams. Like I said, pretty much all the film here is Witherspoon as a nickel DB. He played nickel predominantly that entire game. And look, the Rams cheat the NFL with a lot of this stuff, with these compressed formations, because nobody really puts hands on people. Here, you get a slight redirect by Witherspoon on number one, which I think is Nakua. Here, wrong color, sorry. And then the number two receiver is going to slowly work his way out into the flats. Kind of a delayed release. Witherspoon takes that over again. Great instincts, if you ask me. In zone, he's a field side player, in my opinion, because of his level of athleticism, and can cover on the outside as well as to the inside, like you see in some of these plays here. He's not the breakdown here. This is the end zone angle of the same play, just to show you the slight jam or redirect that he gets on Nakua, trying to disrupt the timing. I think that's underrated in the modern NFL. So many fans are used to watching perhaps only the NFL or high-level college football where pass interference is called so much, and it's really spoiled, I think, a lot of people's attitudes about contact post-snap. Devon Witherspoon gets it right by making contact with guys and making them work a little bit harder than they used to simply get open. Same possession, I believe it's the fourth one. You're going to get a motion across by Nakua away from him, and that'll leave two tight ends here. Something else unique that the Rams do, they kind of major in this X hide concept. So the X receiver down to the bottom side of the field, Demarcus Robinson, played with the Ravens and then since moved on to the Rams and been quite successful there. Because of the tight alignment, again, compressed nature of the formation, Demarcus Robinson, is able to get to the other side of the field. He couldn't do that if his feet were further away, if he was down towards the top of the numbers. So the compressed formations, again, kind of are designed to cheat the modern NFL defenses in a lot of ways, but Witherspoon's having none of it. He's lined up to the field. We actually don't get Witherspoon here pre-snap, my apologies, but we do get a nice view of Robinson and how tightly he's aligned to the left tackle. fake run concept to our right. The defense is right. And Witherspoon is a sure tackler because of his athleticism, because of his feet, and his ability to his willingness to come forward and attack guys and not just sit and wait for the ball carrier to get to him. Toss to him gives you an idea of his athleticism. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to go underneath of or inside of the number 2 receiver if it's a toss play to you. But, maybe because of the angle, or maybe just because, Devon Witherspoon is top of the food chain athleticism for modern humans, but also in the NFL. Now, he does get taken over by the right tackle. It's another pin pull concept. This is pin pull toss. So Nakua blocking down, right tackle pulling to the outside here to go get the nickel DB. In this case, it's Witherspoon. Stafford reverse pivoting to toss it to the running back, try to get him to the edge. And the way that they defend this, or the way that it works out, Witherspoon goes inside of the number 2 receiver and then veers back to the outside where the right tackle picks him up. But what it does is it allows Wagner to basically gap exchange it. When you get the end zone angle, it's effective. First of all, it's a great angle by Wagner, who I thought kind of struggled in coverage in this game that I saw, but really good against the run. There's the concept, the pin down by Nakua, and then the tackle pulling to the outside to go get to the nickel. The angle that Wagner takes fits with what Witherspoon did, and then he's able to fold back to the inside and make the tackle for a modest gain. Another 3rd and long. This is from that same possession. It's a 3rd and 13 to be precise. And Witherspoon is going to zone off again. He's kind of releasing number 2 vertical. It's a seam route. The Rams utilize this concept at least 3 or 4 times because it's so far to go for the offense. He's not necessarily as focused on getting hands on. I think it's Tutu Atwell. And then one thing that Witherspoon's really good at that I kind of mentioned a moment ago is closing space when there's a running back or tight end or someone underneath on a shorter concept. There's a lot to be said for that. And, whether you want to give Witherspoon credit for the tackle here, you may not, and say that it's Boye Mafe that cleans it up, and he certainly plays a role there. But the point about closing the space once the ball is in the air is that it gives other guys an opportunity to recover. He's so aggressive, he's so ultra quick in his response to it. You can see that Witherspoon's actually moving before Stafford even throws the football. He's already starting to shimmy and kind of close space here. Ball's in the air, and he's on it and understands where he can miss the tackle. Meaning, if you're going to miss this tackle, you got to force the running back to the inside where all your help is in the form of, like I said, Boye Mafe and Bobby Wagner. Like I said, I actually have 4 games totally cut up and labeled them. I'm playing a Julian Love video. Got probably about 10 or 12 plays saved up of his as well. But Rams, Cowboys 2023, 49ers, Cardinals in 2024. In terms of Devon Witherspoon, consistently disruptive. I used the word combative earlier, and I mean that combative in every situation. Just as soon as the ball is snapped, combative as hell. Making contact with receivers, whether it's jamming them and then releasing them because he's in zone coverage, or running with a receiver and just trying to disrupt them. He competes. A great football player, which I think was his MO, right? Coming out of the draft, being able to select a guy like Witherspoon at 5 and then JSN at 19 or 20, whatever it was. I referenced it earlier. It's absolute joy to watch film of him. For these film study videos that I'll do prior to training camp in the preseason, I will probably just focus on one game at a time. So if you have any game recognitions, whether it's from 2023 or 2024, for any player, Devon Witherspoon, Julian Love, or Leonard Williams, or anyone else that for that matter, please consider letting me know in the comment section. Additional to that, if you think Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at Witherspoon, even though it was focused on one particular game from his rookie season, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Seahawks fans can enjoy it as well.